This week, Simon Says was prompted by a tweet sent to me from Anthony Gretsch, who said this. So, can anyone tell me when the new A-League season starts? How, where, anything? I've paid my membership and bought my kit. How about talking to your fans? It's a fair question, Anthony. Here's my take. We heard this week that the CBA is close to being finalised. Well, at least as close to being finalised as an independent A-League is. The PFA is understood to have been waiting on the key terms, which they say have been slow to arrive from the club's representative body, the APFCA. The salary cap has been set at 2.1 million, we think, although there's a few add-ons due to salary cap banking. It could be around 2.3 million or even 2.6 million pro rata. Sydney FC, meantime, announced this week that they have done a deal with their players unilaterally. So, is it actually a CBA at all? Who knows? Meantime, the new season is set to start in December, approximately. Some are saying the 27th, though it may be complicated by the Asian Champions League. As for the W League, for a country set to host the FIFA Women's World Cup in 3 years' time, there has been precious little discussion about when that competition will resume, although it is assumed by most it will now be next year. For a nation that just last week openly stated its ambition of becoming one of the top 5 global women's leagues, that's got to be a bit of a concern. Now, COVID, of course, has taken a wrecking ball to many sporting competitions, and in fairness, constructing a new A-League or W League season is not easy when no one knows if the hub model is going to be the only way of completing fixtures. A scenario that, of course, is almost impossible to apply to a women's competition when many of the players depend upon other jobs to make ends meet. The mainstream media headlines this week perhaps tell their own story with regards to football. Here's just a couple of examples. Going backwards, player quits the game at 28. Exodus to Indian Super League highlights deepening A-League malaise. Now, in fairness, there are some positive headlines as well surrounding the likes of Riley McGree and his move to Birmingham City, Al Mobile's qualification for the European Champions League, and of course, Hayley Raso winning through to Wembley with Everton. Congratulations to all of them, but they are mainly from overseas. The domestic game remains mired in negativity, highlighted by the fact that an AAP report this week outlined Wellington Phoenix's plan to take FFA to court over a contract dispute, the details of which are rather unclear. The case is due to be heard on Tuesday. My mail is, however, that it will not get to that stage, and pretty soon Phoenix's ongoing place in the A-League will be confirmed. So, why all the obfuscation? Well, unless I'm mistaken, much of it concerns the ambiguity about the unbundling of the domestic league from the governing body, which, of course, leads us right back to where we started. As we said on this podcast a few weeks ago, the separation of the A-League from FFA needs to be concluded as a matter of urgency, because without it, the lack of clarity, COVID notwithstanding, surrounding the future of the main shop window for the game in this country, both male and female, will just continue. We are now 9 months away from the end of the current television deal, which props up the professional game in this country. The A-League is, metaphorically at least, drifting dangerously towards the cliff edge. So if the commitment to changing the narrative surrounding football, as outlined in the revised 11 principles released last week, is to become reality, then that journey needs to start right now. The clubs already have control over the commercial properties of the competition, so what are they doing with it? It would be of some comfort to see some outcomes, such as a naming rights sponsor for the A-League as a start. Now, there are lots of positive stories surrounding football in this country. The Women's World Cup, increased government investment in infrastructure, and the fact that so many younger players have been given and are going to be given their opportunities in professional football over the coming months. And of course, the fact that with those 11 principles, we at least have the semblance of a plan for the future. However, we can no longer rely on the mainstream media to publicise or promote those stories in any great depth. They have made their priorities quite clear, and let's be brutally honest, we have helped them reach that assessment through our own inertia and our own ineptitude. So we have to help ourselves. An independent A-League, the clubs assure us, will unlock new investment, which is needed to build a better, stronger professional game for both men and for women. I think few would disagree. So the question remains, what is the roadblock? Is it legal complexities? Is it stakeholder disagreement? Is it club infighting? Is it money? Probably all of the above to a greater or lesser extent, but what is clear is that the game simply cannot afford to wait much longer. If we go into another domestic campaign, whenever that might be, with the status quo intact, then we just run the clock down even further, which of course is what we've been doing for the best part of 2 years. In the meantime, the TV deal has all but halved, ratings have dropped, top players are leaving the country, the football media has all but disappeared, and the football community has lost a fair bit of faith, I think it's safe to say. So give us reason to hope. It's not too late, but it might be soon. Get it done and let's move forward. And in the meantime, to go back to Anthony's question at the top, a bit of solid information would be a start.